Please welcome to the stage President and Chief Operating Officer of the Freedom Forum Institute, Gene Policinski.
Thank you very much. Well, good evening. Welcome to the Newseum and to the New York Times Sulzberger Family Great Hall of News and tonight's celebration of excellence in the media, just one of the many ways the Freedom Forum Institute, the Newseum, and the Freedom Forum support and advance the cause for a strong free press and for all of our First Amendment freedoms. The Al Neuharth Award for Excellence in Media recognizes each year an individual who exemplifies the best in media. That recognition began in 1989 when we honored CBS News' Walter Cronkite and continues tonight with the recognition of the extraordinary, amazing, and extremely talented photojournalist Carol Guzy. The award is being presented, as it has now for a few years, during one of the signature programs of the Institute and the Freedom Forum, the Al Neuharth Free Spirit and Journalism Conference. It brings 51 rising high school seniors, one from each state and from DC, and my annual apology for the long trip all the way here to the Newseum for the DC representative. Thank you for you. But you get to come to the nation's capital for an educational experience in which they will see and hear and meet many of the best in journalism and in government, and it's an extraordinary experience. There are now 1,416 scholars, counting the 51 who are here with us tonight. That's since the Free Spirit program began in 1999. We hope the conference and this night's presentation will ignite a spark in each one of them about journalism as a life's career. We know that tonight's recipient will serve as an example and an inspiration for such a career. This year's class of Free Spirit scholars are with us, so I'd ask that they stand to be recognized. And before you're seated, if there are Free Spirit alums, would you join that group, please, as well, if the alums are here? Okay, thank you. We're also joined tonight by a number of the trustees of the Freedom Forum, the Newseum, and the Freedom Forum Institute. And may I ask them to stand as I recognize them and read their names. Tony Bush, Shelby Coffey, Mike Coleman, Phil Curry, Lucy Dalglish, David Edelman, Murray Garnick, Felix Gutierrez, Jack Kirschenbaum, Malcolm Kirschenbaum, John Lee, Jan Neuharth, Peter Pritchard, Orridge Quarles, Mike Regan, Mark Trahant, and Judy Woodruff. Thank you. I would note that that group includes at least two, I believe, two previous winners of the award, Judy Woodruff and Peter Pritchard, both recipients of the Al Neuharth Award. Now, as many of you know, Al called South Dakota the sacred soil. It was his native state, and where after military service, in World War II, he graduated in 1950 from the University of South Dakota. USD was forever in Al's heart. In 2000, the university and the Freedom Forum dedicated the Al Neuharth Media Center, home to student media at USD and to South Dakota Public Broadcasting, and the home for many years to this award event. Now, while the presentation now takes place here during the Free Spirit program, the USD remains every bit the partner and colleague of the Freedom Forum Institute and Freedom Forum in presenting this award and unique recognition of the excellence we find in media. So along with this event tonight, the recipient each year and I and others journey to Vermillion, South Dakota, where we conduct campus sessions and discussions with students and faculty and the community. And as such, it is my honor to present our partner in this presentation, the President of the University of South Dakota, Sheila Gestry.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of the University of South Dakota, I'd like to welcome you to the 2019 presentation of the Al Neuharth Award for Excellence in Media. This award is named for our distinguished alumnus, Alan H. Neuharth, the late USA Today, Freedom Forum, and Newseum founder, and a 1950 alumnus of USD. USD is pleased to join the Freedom Forum Institute, Freedom Forum, and the Newseum in the presentation of this award. The Al Neuharth Award for Excellence in the Media has a lengthy history of honoring the world's most talented journalists. We are extraordinarily proud that Al got his start at USD, and that as editor of the Volant, he transformed that newspaper into one that served the students as opposed to one serving faculty and staff. Today, USD students continue his great legacy with a nationally award-winning, independent student newspaper and a strong commitment to the First Amendment. We are very pleased to recognize this year's award winner, Ms. Carol Guzy. Ms. Guzy is currently a freelance photographer and the 33rd person to receive the Al Neuharth Award for Excellence in the Media, which honors lifetime achievements in the media industry. She is the only person to have received 4 Pulitzer Prize awards in journalism and has spent her career traveling the globe seeking light during the darkest tragedies. In 1986, as a staff photographer for the Miami Herald, Ms. Guzy earned her first Pulitzer Prize in the Spot News category for her coverage of the devastating mudslide in Colombia. Since then, she has received Pulitzers for her coverage of the military intervention in Haiti and for her coverage of the ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. Her most recent Pulitzer Prize came from her coverage of the 2010 catastrophic earthquake in Haiti. Ms. Guzy, we are honored to recognize you for your determination, your craftsmanship in capturing some of history's most poignant photos. These images powerfully captured some of the most devastating times, but also illustrated humanity's most inspiring and resilient times. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the chair and CEO of the Freedom Forum, Jan Neuharth.
Thank you, Sheila, and good evening. Tonight, as you have already heard, we honor a truly unique individual, both in the history of this award and in the world of journalism, Carol Guzy. Carol is the first photojournalist to win the Al Neuharth Award for Excellence in the Media, and the only journalist ever to have received 4 Pulitzer Prizes. Carol is the 33rd person to receive the Al Neuharth Award, and as the history of this award shows, it is presented to those who made journalism better by virtue of the work they have done. Carol graduated in 1978 with an associate's degree in registered nursing from Northampton County Area Community College in her hometown of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Thankfully for journalism, about halfway through her nursing education, she was given a camera by a friend, and that led to photography studies at the Art Institute in Fort Lauderdale. Carol joined the Miami Herald as an intern, and then after graduation as a staff photographer, and during her time there, she won the 1986 Pulitzer Prize for Spot News photography. Carol later joined the Washington Post, where more Pulitzers followed. In 1995, the Pulitzer Prize for Spot News Photography. In 2000, the Pulitzer Prize for Feature Photography, and in 2011, the Pulitzer Prize for Breaking News Photography. In addition to her 4 Pulitzer Prizes, Carol has been honored with a host of other awards through the years. Among them, Photographer of the Year in 1990, the first woman to receive that honor. And again in 1993, 1997, and 2012. In 2009, the Robert F. Kennedy Journalism Award. In 2013, the University of Missouri Honor Medal for Service in Journalism. And in 2018, the Robert Capa Gold Medal, which honors photography requiring exceptional courage and enterprise for her efforts documenting the effect of the war on ISIS on the civilians of Mosul, Iraq. Carol made a difference in photojournalism simply by choosing that profession. Thanks in no small part to her work through several decades, more women than ever are choosing what Carol has described as not just a job, but a mission, to show people experiencing pain, joy, suffering, and hope. My father, Al Neuharth, for whom this award is named, believed that women belong at every level and in every aspect of journalism. And Al put that into practice through his career. Tonight, we carry on that legacy with this award and with this year's recipient. In 2011, when Carol received the Northampton County Area Community College Alumni Association's Professional Achievement Award, she said her training as a nurse gave her more than a degree. It helped her gain an understanding of human suffering and an incredible sensitivity to it, and that without that background, her photography would have a totally different edge. Let's take a look at the career of a journalist whose work in regions of the world as diverse as Colombia and Kosovo, Iraq and Haiti, and in the Gulf Coast consistently has had that different edge.
When a Colombian volcano erupted in 1985 and killed more than 20,000, Carol Guzy's images of the tragedy won her and her Miami Herald colleague their first Pulitzer Prize for spot news photography. Nearly 10 years later, when U.S. troops entered the impoverished island nation of Haiti, Guzy's images for the Washington Post again brought the faraway conflict to people back home, earning her a second Pulitzer.
I don't believe the Pulitzers belong to us. I think we just accept them for the people that are in our stories. They're the courageous ones, and they're the ones who've opened up their lives so that we could take those pictures and tell their stories.
To capture those powerful moments, Guzy tries to connect with the people in her photographs, to imagine their suffering.
You see things that other people may not.
I definitely have an overdose of empathy. I think that's probably the key word to make compelling images.
In 1999, when tens of thousands of ethnic Albanians fled violence in Kosovo, Guzy traveled to the border, capturing images of hope and heartache that earned her and her team a third Pulitzer. But the experience brought her to an emotional breaking point.
I felt so guilty that I'd be able to get on a plane and leave a lot of these places, and
the suffering stayed behind.
The people were stuck in their reality long after the headlines were gone. But I think you learn to cope by realizing it is a mission. It's not just a job.
After a leave of absence, Guzy returned to the Post and again began traveling the world, covering humanitarian conflicts from India to Ethiopia, making friends along the way. A photo story on child amputees from Sierra Leone resulted in a number of adoptions, including a young girl named Mamuna, who became Guzy's goddaughter. But again and again, she returned to Haiti. And when the country was ravaged by an earthquake in 2010, it shook Guzy to her core.
I love the people and I love the spirit, and it was like my second home almost. So when the earthquake happened, that just about destroyed me.
Her coverage of the recovery effort earned Guzy and her colleagues an historic fourth Pulitzer. Guzy's pictures now hang alongside hundreds of other Pulitzer Prize-winning photographs at the Newseum, a testament to the power of images to change history. Like Kevin Carter's 1993 picture of a starving Sudanese girl, or William Beall's 1957 picture of a policeman talking with a young boy.
This is only, the tip of the iceberg when you think of all the images that have been made.
Guzy's photographs often show hope even in the darkest of circumstances. It's what she searches for when she arrives in a place like Haiti.
Like this poor little girl and 300,000 other people, they were gone in a whisper, or worse, buried under, layers of concrete and died days later, weeks later even.
When you see that, how do you just keep moving to take those photographs?
I tend to always look for those moments of hope too, because I think we need balance. We need to show people not only the problems, but sometimes the solution too. And it saves my faith in humanity for sure.
And in that way, these photos can affect change. To a journalist like Guzy, that's the real reward.
For me anyway, it's always been my life and a calling of sorts to, to make people aware. And every now and then, things do change, maybe slowly and incrementally, but pictures can make a difference, I think.
And now it is my great honor to present the 2019 Al Neuharth Award for Excellence in the Media to Carol Guzy. Here's your Before Carol delivers her remarks, I just want to let everyone know that she has a very severe case of laryngitis, and she is determined to deliver her remarks, but in case her voice gives out, we have Indira Williams-Bobick, Director of Visual Resources and Photography for the Newseum, who is also a friend and colleague of Carol's on standby to help her finish delivering her remarks if her voice gets out. Carol, it's all yours.
Thank you. As I lost my voice, clearly, and some in this room would probably say that's a good thing. So bear with me. It's so deeply poignant to accept this prestigious honor, and so cool to be on a list that includes Walter Cronkite. And thank you, everyone at the Newseum, for making this happen. This has been like a second home and an integral part of my heart. There are so many memories that echo from these hallowed rooms. The Newseum plays a dynamic purpose in enlightening society to the vital role of journalism. The exhibits educate and touch both mind and spirit, and the Freedom Forum wall sadly continues to add names of journalists who died in the pursuit of truth. It's bittersweet and profoundly moving, and it includes my beloved friend Michael Dusil. It's here that we wept at his memorial service. People learn about the news media and most of all embrace the human condition and all that are interwoven on this planet in raw and intimate moments in words, videos, and pictures. Yes, those photos are uncomfortable to view, but for many in this world there is no breakfast cereal or freedom from fear. And perhaps that's what society should find most intolerable, not the pictures that remind us of it. In these difficult years for this profession, especially photojournalism, we remember that there can be an indelible mark of empathy left on one's soul by a documentary still image. It's been said when you make a photo, you take a piece of the soul, and as well you give a part of yours. There are pieces of my soul scattered all over the earth, and indeed it's what makes me whole. A photo can be a formidable witness and an eloquent voice for those who have none. Pictures inform, educate, clarify, captivate, and spur governments into action. They're historical documents and emotional reminders of our human frailties. They're our life's work, our legacy. A defining moment was seeing a print come to life in a tray. It was pure magic. I took a darkroom class while in nursing school, failed it, but gratefully it led to this profession, which I wouldn't trade for the world, though at times I've been screamed at, knocked down, trampled by mobs, usually mobs of other photographers, or arrested, shot at, and was deemed obsessive by my editors constantly. I prefer the word dedicated. Storytelling is my oxygen. Photojournalists are narrators. We just write with light, always seeking that golden hour. But really, the most vital radiance is the inner essence. Pictures reveal not only our differences, but also the qualities that make us part of a world family. And as Robert Capa said, if your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. But close enough doesn't always mean standing in the flames or gunfire. Even more difficult can be breaking that barrier of intimacy. It's a different kind of courage to stay with a story even when it's ripping your heart to shreds. A tapestry of experiences has enriched my life. We document such a vast range of the human condition. I photographed the first breath of a baby and the unmistakable expression of death as the light leaves someone's eyes. It's photos that become a lasting monument. There are everyday heroes that quietly live their values in our own backyards. Those that we record teach us lessons about living with principle and dying with grace. It's not what you hold in your hand that matters. It's the qualities you hold inside. I was the first a few times, as she mentioned, first woman this, first woman that, and now apparently first photojournalist to receive this award. I'm so honored, and it feels good to just say photojournalist and not female photojournalist. I think we're on the right track. However, back in the day, there were frequent tales of inequality or worse, and female faces were few on photography staffs and less on international stories. It's encouraging now when students view past generations as trailblazers and realize these things can no longer deter them. And although there are still issues to address, we're beginning to embrace the diversity needed in journalism. And it's certainly wonderful to see so many more sisters and journalists of color in different cultures today. Even though there's vulnerability, I always try to speak openly, especially with young people, about issues dealing with loss, grief, depression, and yes, PTSD. I think many journalists have to some degree. There's a stigma, but we shouldn't feel shame. It just means you have a beating heart. Weeping is not weakness. Grief is equal to the love. It's an attempt to perhaps help people find healthy outlets to discuss their own difficulties and feel less alone. I had the great fortune to work for the Graham Post for 3 decades, a family with integrity and loyalty, and the Miami Herald in the wild 80s, but I won't elaborate about those days. And now, Zuma Press, named after founder Scott McKiernan's dog. And it couldn't be a more perfect fit for this animal lover extraordinaire. And the editors are so very kind. When I was, as usual, lamenting missing important moments of a story, they embraced me and said, I'm not a multiple exposure, I can't be everywhere. And that kind of support is priceless when we beat ourselves up, as many of us tend to do. We spend our lives expecting people to open up their most intimate moments to our cameras, and the least we can do is offer the same courage of transparency to promote a better understanding of the universal emotions we all share. It's tragic that no one saved this iconic place. Where are the billionaires when you need them? Wouldn't have made a dent in those fortunes. A heritage of history hangs on these walls, but the Newseum is much more than just a building. And the next chapter will continue to give voice to the First Amendment, champion a free press, and offer the public a venue to truly understand how crucial that is in a democracy. Journalists are challenged not only to expose issues and report the news, but also to find poetry in everyday lives. We're not the enemy. It's so... Thank you. It's so nostalgic to stand in this place with cherished friends and colleagues. I wish my mother and sister would have been here. They both passed away from Alzheimer's. I think they would have been proud. But a lot of you have become family. Scott McKiernan from Zuma. They took me on and believed in me at a time when I was broken and I didn't believe in myself. Luis Rios, one of the best editors on the planet from my Wash Post days. Friends, dearest Indira, the remarkable Nancy Andrews, and my oldest friend from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Yeah, you say Bethlehem if you're from Bethlehem. Linda Anthony and her daughter Tracy that I've known since a baby. Josh Basil is here, who I did a story over a decade ago on him, and we recently reconnected for an ESPN story on his adaptive sports adventures for others with spinal cord injuries. He's an inspiration to many, including me. My greatest riches that remain long after the story is over. These are the greatest riches I have, the relationships that remain long after the story is over and the camera's put down. And Ken, Cheryl, Mike, Matt, Jim, and Leslie, Heidi, and John, everyone here, thank you so much for sharing this. And thank you, my dear friends, for staying with me through the sorrows as well as these kind of moments of delight. Thank you for loving me even when I felt unlovable. This odd and magnificent journey can be hard, but it's full and rewarding. The eve of my sister's funeral, my friend, co-worker, my brother really, Michael Dussel, died covering Ebola in Liberia. His name is permanently etched on the wall. He was a man of grace as impressive as his talent, a rare breed in today's sometimes cold corporate ethics. I kind of feel him here tonight. We shared our first Pulitzer together, and awards like the Pulitzer and this, as I said, don't belong to us. We merely accept from the people that have trusted us to tell their story. He was always there, especially during loss. He drove to Pennsylvania when my mom died. He was the first at my door if a pet passed away. Even though he didn't quite understand that bond, he had compassion. And a passage from Plato that I read from Michael's eulogy that I think is so beautiful, I'll end with this. The souls of people on their way to earth life pass through a room full of lights, and each takes a taper, often only a spark, to guide it in the dim country of this world. But some souls, by rare fortune, are detained longer, have time to grasp a handful of tapers, which they weave into a torch. These are the torchbearers of humanity, its poets, seers, and saints, who lead and lift the race out of the darkness toward the light. They are the lawgivers, the light bringers, way showers, and truth tellers, and without them, humanity would lose its way in the dark. We pay tribute to those brave journalists and all who passed by our words and our deeds, by never wavering from telling stories that must be told, and rising up just a little bit higher in human decency. At times, visual storytelling offers those who would feel invisible in the darkest shadows of despair that intangible and invaluable essence, hope. Be the light, carry that torch. Thank you all for sharing this moment.
Oh my. Eloquence in imagery and in words. Truly an example of the excellence that American journalism and journalism worldwide has. You know, tonight's celebration of Carol's outstanding career and during the Free Spirit Scholar activities takes place during a time of what some would say is an unprecedented challenge to First Amendment freedoms. But if you scan the list of recipients of this award, if you saw some of the images that were projected earlier, you'll note that, like Carol, for some of our recipients, the best is yet to come. The work continues. So it is with us. The Newseum and the Freedom Forum Institute stand on the front lines of the fight against the challenges to the First Amendment, and we do need your help, your advice, your counsel, your wisdom, your support in carrying out that mission. I hope you will think of ways that you can help us defend these core freedoms, which really do define what it means to be an American. Consider how you might help us carry forward this mission. And with that, thank you and good night.